Welcome back to the AZ-900 Fast Track. In this session, we're diving into the essential Azure services for governance and monitoring. Think of these as the central control panel for your entire cloud. Nailing these concepts is absolutely crucial for your exam, so let's jump right in. So picture this. You're building all this amazing stuff in Azure. Your resources are multiplying, your apps are running, but with all that growth comes a ton of complexity. How do you possibly watch over everything? How do you make sure your teams are actually following the rules? And you know that no one accidentally deletes your most critical production database. Well, that's the exact challenge we're going to solve today. We're going to tackle this in 4 quick chapters. First, we'll get visibility by mastering Azure Monitoring. Then, we'll learn how to enforce rules with some awesome governance tools. After that, we'll cover how to manage your data and trust the platform itself. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with an ultimate exam review to make sure these concepts are locked in. Let's get started. All right. Chapter 1, Mastering Azure Monitoring. You can't control what you can't see, right? So before you can do anything else, you have to be able to see what's going on. We're talking about everything, from the entire Azure platform, down to your specific regions, and even a single virtual machine. The first tool for this is Azure Service Health, and honestly, the best way to think about it is like a weather report. Azure Status, that's the global view, like checking the weather for the entire planet. Service Health zooms in a little closer. That's the forecast for your city, telling you about outages or maintenance in the Azure regions and services that you actually care about. And finally, Resource Health is hyper-local. It's the weather on your specific street, telling you the health of your individual VMs and resources. And here we go, a classic exam watch scenario. So listen up because this trips a lot of people up. Here's the key difference. Service Health tells you about Azure's problems that might be affecting you, like a huge region-wide outage. Resource Health, on the other hand, tells you about problems with your specific stuff that you are responsible for, like maybe a VM that just rebooted unexpectedly. One is Microsoft's health, the other is your resources' health. Okay, so you can see the health of the platform itself, but what about the health of your design? Is your setup actually any good? That's where Azure Advisor comes in. I want you to think of it as your own personal and totally free built-in cloud consultant. It's constantly scanning your environment and giving you these personalized best practice recommendations to make everything better.
Now, Advisor breaks its advice down into 5 key categories that you absolutely need to know. It checks for reliability to help keep your apps running, security to find any vulnerabilities, performance to boost your speed, operational excellence for best practices, and of course, everyone's favorite, cost, to find ways you can save some money.
So, while Service Health is about the platform and Advisor is about best practices, Azure Monitor is your heavy-duty, deep-dive tool for your own applications and infrastructure. This is what you use when you need to know why your app is so slow. It collects all the performance metrics and logs, lets you analyze them, visualize them, and even set up alerts to act on that info automatically. Let's move on to Chapter 2. Now that we can see everything, how do we actually control it? How do we enforce our company's rules, make sure we're compliant, and, protect our most important systems from simple human error? The first tool for this is Azure Policy, and it's basically like a bouncer for your Azure environment. You give it a list of rules like, hey, only allow these specific VM sizes, or every single resource must have a department tag. Policy then checks every single thing being created or updated. If it doesn't match the rules, sorry, it gets denied at the door. And here's another key exam watch distinction: policy versus initiative. It's actually really simple. A policy is just one single rule. An initiative, which you might also hear called a policy set, is just a collection of those individual policies all grouped together to achieve a bigger goal. Like an initiative for HIPAA compliance could have dozens of individual policies inside it. Now, policy is great for enforcing rules, but what about preventing just plain costly accidents? For that, we have resource locks. And the perfect analogy is that little glass case over a fire alarm. It doesn't stop you from pulling it, but it makes you take that extra deliberate step, which prevents you from doing it by accident. A resource lock does the exact same thing for your critical systems. For the exam, you absolutely positively must know the 2 types of locks. The delete lock is pretty straightforward. It stops anyone from deleting the resource. You can still read it and modify it, you just can't get rid of it. The read-only lock, though, is much stricter. It prevents any changes, and that includes deletion. And here's the most important part. These locks apply to everyone, even account owners. To change or delete something that's locked, you first have to consciously go in and remove the lock. All right, let's zoom out for Chapter 3. We've talked about monitoring our resources and governing how they're configured. But what about the actual data inside those resources? And how can we be sure that the underlying Azure platform itself is secure and compliant? This is where Microsoft Purview comes into play. If your boss asks you, hey, where is all of our sensitive customer data located across all of our systems? Purview is the tool that helps you find that answer. It scans your entire data world, in Azure, on-prem, even in other clouds, to create this one big unified map. It helps you discover and classify your sensitive info automatically, giving you true data governance. So Purview helps you trust your own data. But how do you trust Microsoft? Well, that's the whole point of the Service Trust Portal. This is the official spot where you can find all of Microsoft's compliance documents. Need to see their ISO certification or their audit reports for a specific regulation? You go to the Service Trust Portal to get the proof that Microsoft's cloud platform is meeting all those global security and privacy standards.
Okay, Chapter 4. Let's pull this all together with a high-speed review. This is your cheat sheet to lock in all these concepts for the AZ-900 exam.
Think of this as your mental decision tree for the exam. If you see a question about enforcing rules, your brain should immediately go to Azure Policy. Preventing accidents? That's a resource lock. Getting best practice recommendations? Azure Advisor. Tracking CPU and setting up alerts? Azure Monitor. And a big Microsoft service outage? That's Service Health. Simple as that. Let's make this even simpler. Number 1, Monitor is for performance, Advisor is for recommendations, Service Health is for outages. 2, Policy enforces rules, locks prevent accidents. 3, the read-only lock is the strictest one, it blocks all changes. And 4, Purview maps your data while the Service Trust Portal holds Microsoft's compliance reports. You've got this. And that's a wrap on Azure governance and monitoring. You now have the Architect's Toolkit to see, control, and secure your cloud environment. So the real question is, which one of these powerful tools are you going to go configure first? Thanks for watching, and good luck on your exam.